Hey everybody, Mr. Polymers here, and what I have in my hand is a home-built 250 millimeter racing quad. What I'll do, I didn't want to necessarily do a build video because there's plenty of very good build videos on YouTube, but what I will do is kind of go over the parts I have here. Not overly difficult to build, probably more difficult to configure these on the computer, but let's kind of go over the different components I have here. Number one, I elected with a, this is a glass-filled nylon 6 frame. These are all, the arms are all one piece, part of the body, so it just makes it a little simpler to build for me anyway. I kind of liked how it looked. It's got these feet here. It is a little heavy. Probably on my next build I'll just use a regular carbon fiber frame or glass fiber. That's what this material is here, but I would probably do the whole quad just to lighten this up. The motors are ZMR. These are 1804s, 2400 kV motors. What I did, and again, this is a cheap build. I purchased a Fly Sky. This is the FS-T6. It's just a kind of a basic 6-channel radio. Normally, when you purchase these radios, they come with the receiver. However, mine actually came with this receiver, which is supposed to fit right on the APM board. Well, now the APM board, that's the brains of the quadcopters right here. But anyway, long story short, this did not fit on this particular APM board. So I had to buy this receiver and just bind it up. Very easy process in doing. Again, binding the receiver up to the transmitter. In here is the distribution board. When you're building these quads, you can either make one, or it's just basically a board where you supply the main power, which is here. Then you have various access points to power up your ESCs. Now on the bottom of this quad, these are your ESCs, or electronic speed controls. These here are the, I believe these are the Simon K. They're 20 amp. So these are actually, can handle 3 times more amperage than the ESCs on my 3DX6. I also put lights on this. I'll show you shortly. Probably too many, but and here's the battery. I just happened to purchase 2, and I have these velcroed in. These are a 1300 milliamp hour battery. Not an overly high C rating. I think the C rating on these is 20. You really want to get as high a C rating as possible on these batteries. Of course, here's the Mobius. And here's the, this is called the Flip 32. You can see that. I'll use my flashlight. There's the APM. That's the brains of the quad. It's called a Flip 32. I think it's based on the Naze protocol. I have this just conventionally set up. These wires to the left here, those would be my ESCs. These hook up. Let me double check that. Yeah, I believe these are my ESCs. There are 4 of these, and each ESC from 1 to 4 powers each motor. You have to do it in a certain configuration. All these quads generally, this is motor 1, motor 2, motor 3, motor 4, and again, you place them in that sequence on this board. On the right side, these are the channels to the receiver. Since I'm actually running all 6 channels. 4 to run throttle, aileron, rudder, yaw, etc. Then 2 auxiliary channels. And again, those hook up to the board here. So what I'm going to do is, the weather's not real good, but I'm going to go ahead and I'll test fly it for you guys out in the field. I did test fly it around the house here. What I did find out, like the 3DX6, I ended up using 60-30 props for some reason, and again, I even contacted the seller of this. This comes with, let me grab some props. This quad, I bought it as a kit, comes with 60-30 props. You can see it. Excuse me, I have all my props here marked. 60-30 props. Excuse me, let me get one out. Here's the 50-30 props, and as you can see how small they are. Again, and what I experienced with this quad, like the 3DX6, is just not enough lift. You have to use a lot of throttle just to get it airborne. So I had to do a lot of experimentation. I found the 60-45. These are would be the strongest blades, give me the most lift. These actually created a wobble in this, where it would do a quirky move, and again, it gets pretty complicated on what's going on. It has to do with PIDs, how it's set up, and whatever. So what I found out is the 60-30s give me enough lift, yet they don't create too much of an issue with where it becomes erratic, and that probably could be. I could probably set the PIDs on this to work with these, but I'm not going to mess with it. I'll get with my RC club. We have some guys that are much more knowledgeable than I am on blades. So anyway, that's what I ended up finding. And again, for me, is the 60-30 blades. Now, what I had to do, you can configure this quad with the cage on top or on the bottom. I originally, in some of my pictures, I had the cage up here, but I could not use the 6-inch props. I was forced to use the 5-inch, and that didn't work out. So fortunately with this frame, you're able to mount the cage underneath. So I will FPV this. That's really the last thing to go on this, an FPE. The FPE camera will replace the Mobius. It'll be in this area. Then the antenna or the receiver, the transmitter will be back here, and then I'll have another antenna up here. So it is fast. It has several different modes. It has a sort of an acro mode where there's no accelerometer stabilization. It has an angle mode and a horizon mode. Angle mode, that's kind of the easiest beginner mode, and I do have this transmitter programmed on for angle mode and horizon. Now horizon mode allows you to actually flip this or do barrel rolls and stuff like that. I'm a newbie at these builds, so this is definitely a lot more difficult to fly than the toy grade quads or even the Cheerson or the 3DX6 you see over there. This is quite fast, and I'm sure I'm going to crash quite a bit. I will say this frame is very, very tough. These quads are designed to take a beating. And a lot of these guys that fly FPV, you know, you see them flying through trees and through underneath swing sets. This thing's, the only fragile part of this quad are the props. And in fact, I broke one or two just doing some tests on it. But other than that, it's sturdy as hell. This glass-filled nylon's tough stuff. This quad's fairly heavy. Look at my notes here. The quad itself weighs 386 grams. With the Mobius, it weighs 430 grams. Let's go ahead and weigh it. I'm going to go and just stick the battery. We're going to weigh it with the battery and the Mobius. Bear with me here. Okay, this quad weighs, you can probably see 528 grams. That's surprisingly, that's pretty heavy for a 250 millimeter quad. And it does fly a little heavy, although it does have the power from the motors. So anyway, we're going to, my next video, I'll take it out to the field. We'll run it around, do some test flying, and with the Mobius camera. And we'll go from there. I'm hoping to do some racing videos with my club, but again, this is my first budget quad. I've got about $250 in this. So as I get better into racing or building, I'll ramp up the quality on it. But I think for a beginner, it's pretty good. And we'll go from there. We'll catch you guys later, and happy flying.